You're right.
That
No, I'm glad
we're
you
all
said that.
dealing with something.
Because a lot of times, sometimes it's it can be culturally or generational, and those stigmas. So that's another thing, this stuff can be kind of passed down. Not saying it should, but it could be, some of the older, generations definitely, the poverty, the violence, right? I mean, addiction, racism, trauma, and all just different things in order to survive. They thought about these things as well. So it's one thing to, definitely understand that and, not keep, when we talk about private business, private, or, pray and move on, some of those things we spoke about, hey, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Those things, no, you get the help you need.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's too much, then get the help you need.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of times, what came about and understanding that as well. It's like I said, for when you talk about the spiritual piece of this and understanding that as well, I do, people generally love God, but they also, they could struggle emotionally though. And that's the thing, and may you feel guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about it. There's nothing wrong with doing it, and these things are put out here for that. I mean,
Right.
I know we talk about praying, but guess what? There's counseling thing you can seek as well too.
Yep.
Sometimes not definitely not saying against it or for it when if it's the individual. Sometimes taking medication as well.
Right.
Sometimes taking medication as well. Now taking prescribed medication, but like I said, for under a doctor's order. But then again, like I said, for knowing what medication you are taking.
Right.
All right. But knowing that it's just a part of the process, it's not going to be the be all end all.
Right.
There's no miracle drug to stop this or anything like that.
Just in support of
right. It's like, one of the things when I, used to do counseling, it's like people that did have, suffer from depression, sometimes they didn't want to take the medication. How it makes me feel. I don't know how it makes you feel, so I don't say that. But one of the things I do tell them is if you're able to process it, then it's working. That's the whole thing. When you're able to sit down and process something, that's it, because it's just a part of the process that it helps with. So now you're able to process and make the right decision, or even sometimes wrong, but at least you can think it out. And those are the things that it kind of does. So it's just, like I said, a part of the process. And that's a lot of it too. And that's the thing, but people that have faith, they're not immune to struggles.
Absolutely not.
It tells you that in the Bible. You're still going to struggle, trials and tribulations. You still good. So that's a lot of it as well.
And that was part of the stigma. Was if you worrying all the time, where's your faith?
Right.
And that's I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I mean, if you broke your arm, again back to the broken arm,
right?
They're not going to tell you just pray. It'll heal just fine. You'll go to the doctor, get it set, properly treated, right?
Right.
So mental health needs to be viewed in the same way.
That's it. That's it. You're right.
But and it comes to being able to be vulnerable.
Right.
I don't have to make you. I don't have to try to impress you with this image that's so driven these days. I just want to be better and be healthier and help other people. So I'm gonna put it all on the table, and the more I do that, the more I find that people say, I've been dealing with the same thing.
Right. So
it's amazing. But it takes people to start talking about it.
Right. No, you're right.
And then all of a sudden, so many people can relate to the same things. We all tend to think we're out there on this island alone when we're struggling.
Right. No, you're right.
But there are people dealing with the exact same issues, and we just have to be vulnerable enough to share that.
So now I want to get into real quick before we end. I want to get into about the youth, mental health crisis at times, right? Because there are some of our youth are crying out for help as well, right? Cyberbullying, depression, social anxiety, school pressure, right? Lack of mentorship, trauma exposure. We're definitely in certain households that we hear about. We don't always see it, we hear about identity struggles, right? And then also just suppression of emotions, those things, and they use things online to kind of deal with that, but that's not processing them in real life though, right? That's why definitely having mentorship programs, right, is strong, right? Definitely understanding their emotional intelligence as well, positive environments as well, life skills, learning, community education, right? And knowing their voice of empowerment is a big thing as well. And this is something we have to do. And that's something I don't want us as adults to miss. We don't need to miss that. Asking the kids, are they doing okay? Definitely, if you're a parent or a relative or someone that hangs around this kid, you can, if you see them, you can kind of tell, right? Some of these things and really attacking it then,
right?
Instead of waiting until it's too late, right?
And even then, it don't hurt to ask, checking and. But yeah, I agree. There's so much, and I think I hear a lot like when especially teens are dealing with relationship issues, be it friend or romantic relationships, and there's always a lot back and forth, and this one said that one, and even me, my natural tendency is to brush that off. That's just a bunch of drama, a bunch of nonsense, because to me it is. Like, to me, I got real worries. But at this 14, 15-year-old person, that's just as big to them in their world and their reality
100%.
As my
100%
concerns are.
So
that's the danger of, we don't want to brush them aside.
And that's why I said, just making sure they're okay, right? Making sure we are checking on them, right, and having programs out there that they can come and make sure and crush the stigma. If stigma of things, because we're not doing it, if we're not speaking about our mental health, what makes you say they're going to, right? Definitely something else. So
set the example.
Exactly. So definitely when we talk about normalizing things, right? I think what I see in the younger generation, I think counseling has been kind of normalized.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a great thing. So I know we're making strides. I get it. But we still have pockets of kids that aren't, getting those things. I can't say where they live or anything like that. It's not that. But, also, definitely struggling with, I always say this, and I know I'm not saying controversial, but it's one of those things like you don't always really know your neighbor. You think you do, but you don't always know your neighbor. Now you throw a kid in there, right? And you got some suspicions about what's really going on. Not because you're nosy, because you either got your spidey senses going on or whatever. And I always say, if you really believe that, I think everybody should call CPS today on somebody who didn't say that.
Right.
But when you know something isn't right, there's nothing wrong with, and here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with making an anonymous call and calling and to see what's really going on. And then let the professionals, which is the CPS, let them do their thing. Let them do their investigation or go do a check on the kids, right? And not only that, even if it isn't, maybe it's a wake-up call, maybe, kind of start straightening up a little bit. Yeah. Because a lot of that is that too as well. It's those things as well. So I do believe that. I do believe that. I'd be amiss to also talk about, getting them in some type of faith-based discussions with kids, right? Yeah. Community matters, prayer matters, right? Therapy matters, accountability matters just as much. Getting them into some definitely some youth groups. So somebody was talking about a Wallace the other day, if they still have it. Yeah, things like these, FCA, Fellowship Christian Athletes, things like that, that can definitely help. To me, some positive things that they can help, and also vet them. Let's say vet the organizations your kids are being involved in as well, making sure they're safe. That's the first thing. Don't get me wrong. We need to make sure they're safe, and that's definitely a big key to a lot of these things. Really, also when we think about it, when we talk about kids as well, getting them their proper rest, okay, for their mental, because it's hard. They stay up long like we do, right? We're getting their rest, exercise, right. Their boundaries. Also journaling, I think, is a big thing as well. Them keeping a journal, not for us to pry and look at it, but definitely for them to get the word, get it out. You're a writer, you know how it is. Getting that thing, getting those thoughts on some paper, what I mean, and come from that way. Positive relationships, definitely those things. I mean, that's one thing that when, my daughter, when she came to live with me, that's one thing that we spoke about. It was a couple of years ago, but one thing I spoke about was positive relationships. Not caring, getting into these arguments on the phone and all that stuff, steering away from that.
Right.
All right. Because guess what? You're on the phone. Nobody's putting you on there. You're on that phone.
Right.
Severing those things, those ties to, that drama. If you the one causing it, same way. I didn't say that she would,
Right.
you being involved in it, definitely. So reducing those toxic rut environments, understanding that as well.
Yeah.
Being self-aware.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I think, and I've made the mistake, people don't have to wait till there's a problem. You can, therapy is very much a preventive thing.
Right.
Preventive practice. And it doesn't hate, I encourage professional therapy, but you also get mental health aid by talking to trusted adults,
So
friends,
100%.
Mentors. Like
100%.
that's and
100%.
honestly, that's your most exposure.
Right.
You might talk to a therapist an hour a month.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Just hanging on, just definitely have somebody you can talk, you can talk to, right?
Yeah.
And get the things you need to get out off your chest, right? Without being so much judged or whatever, or down for the things you're saying, and that is true. I think that's, one of the things, we just touched on a little bit about identity crisis and things like that. Same difference, getting out there talking to people about certain things as well.
Yeah.
Not in trying to internalize a lot of things you see because, you're afraid and whatever. Getting it out and talking to people is a big thing. And then kind of, navigating it that way, and I believe in, just giving, just like any other kid, just like any other adult or whatever, just giving the truth and laying the truth out there. Now, the truth sometimes comes from things like, definitely with me comes from the Bible, but for others come from whatever. But I ain't, like I said, this ain't really a discussion about that, but stuff that is credible, should I say, stuff that is backed up by evidence, should I say, right? Just gets in the Bible sometimes it's not seen at times, but it's still there, right? I mean, the wind, but you can feel it.
Right.
It don't mean it ain't there.
Right.
I mean, those are some of the things.
And that's another good advancement that's becoming more and more available. There's a place here in Beckley is faith-based therapy.
You were talking 100%.
And for people that, faith is the center of their life, that appeals to me.
Well, yeah. And then I told you, and the truth is, just because that may be the center does not mean you're not going to have time to.
Exactly.
But at least I know that because I can read it, and it says that.
Right.
But I'll still be there, right? I'll still be there with you, right? But it doesn't. So it's not saying, well, shoot, I did. But that doesn't say that you're not going to go through that. Sometimes the things we go through make us even stronger. Not saying that you're trying to line up to go through it, but it does.
Right.
And sometimes if we skip, right, what we're supposed to, or try to cut or take the shortcut, we're going to fall back into it again.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why. But guess what? If we handle it now, maybe we'll know how to handle it here in the future as well. Yeah. And that's what a lot of what it talks about as well.